Hello to you, and welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Barjo.
And I'm Hex.
Today, the hulking metal machines of Armored Core 5.
This time, however, victory is ours.
We shoot some pixels to bits in the side-scrolling shoot-'em-up Sine Mora, which, in case you're wondering, is Latin for without delay.
Plus, backed by popular demand, Dave Callan to have a look at the latest in a franchise that is very close to his heart.
And I found another great free-to-play game to share with you all as we discover some more gratis gaming.
Did you know gratis is Latin?
Well, that's why I said it's all part of the theme. Potest von conjecto ludum. That's Harry Potter for Can You Guess the Game for this week.
What's that on your hand? Is it right on your hand? Uzne Ante Hex, eh?
Pig Latin, nice. Yeah.
Good game!
Jordan Mechner, the creator of the original Prince of Persia, has been reunited with the original Apple II source code for the game, feared lost for over 23 years. It was Mechner's father who found the 3 floppy disks containing the code in a box at the back of a cupboard while doing a bit of spring cleaning. Mechner promises to make the source code available on his website as soon as he figures out a way of converting the disks to a readable format for today's computers. Kelly Santiago, co-founder of That Game Company, the studio behind Flower and Journey, has left the studio, saying she felt it was time to take on a new challenge after 6 years at the helm. She was followed out the door shortly after by Robin Hoeniker, an executive producer on Journey who has taken up a role at TinySpec, developers of the browser-based MMO Glitch. South Australia plans to restrict the sale of MA15+ games to people over 18 years of age. South Australian Attorney General John Rao intends to implement the restriction instead of abolishing the MA15+ category altogether, with the intention that it will make it harder for minors to get their hands on MA15+ content. States are currently able to independently implement the adult rating for games, with the law policed at the retail level.
You won't be a hero, Commander. You won't save anyone.
A bunch of shutdowns and closures have hit the global games industry. Sony has closed Seattle-based Zipper Interactive, the first-party studio behind the SOCOM license, MAG, and Unit 13 on the Vita. Meanwhile, Sega America has announced widespread layoffs in a restructuring bid to return to profit, warning that some game projects may be cancelled as a result. And THQ has cut 118 jobs across Vigil Games and Relic Entertainment, changing the course on their Warhammer 40k MMO to make it a single-player focused game with multiplayer features instead. The global 48-hour game jam, What Would Molly Do, was an undeniable success, producing at least 250 playable games, all of which you can download and play from the jam's website. Try your hand at Old Man Babby, where you revert to baby form every 10 seconds, or the Maestro, where you must play sad music to suck in people's tears, which can be used as currency for weapons. Sine Mora is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up spawned from the minds of Hungarian developers Digital Ready and Japanese devs Grasshopper Manufacture, who are helmed by none other than Suda51 of No More Heroes and Shadows of the Damned fame. But this game really brings something quite unique and sophisticated to the arcade shooter genre.
The story is surprisingly complex. It's all voiced in Hungarian, but it's written in English in between stages for you to follow along. The themes are quite mature for an arcade shooter. Complexities of war, ethnic cleansing, revenge of fallen family members, and all of the characters take some form of animal-human hybrid. I did find some of the story stuff a bit slow-going at times, though.
Yeah. Playing through the campaign in story mode offers 2 difficulty settings, normal and challenging for arcade shooter veterans. But even on normal difficulty, this game is pretty tough. The screen is virtually cluttered with bullets, planes, tanks and turrets at all times, and staying alive will require some quick reflexes and crafty flying.
Luckily, there's a number of interesting mechanics for you to utilize here, the first of which is the use of time. You begin the game with a number of credits or lives, but instead of a health bar, you have seconds on the clock. For each enemy you take down, time is added to your clock, but for every hit you take, time is taken away. When your seconds run out, you die. Make it through and your time mass is stabilized until the next stage.
There are also a number of power-ups and special weapons you pick up along the way. And if you get hit, those precious seconds you lost will float away in a red orb, which you can snatch back if you're quick enough and manage not to get hit again in the process.
Normally with these kind of games, I associate 3 hits and then you're out, and it always feels a bit unfair, but this was such a great idea.
Yeah, and there's also this really great time slowing mechanic, which just adds to make the whole experience so much more enjoyable rather than taxing.
You can only use it sparingly, but it certainly adds a whole new dimension to the gameplay. And also I find one of the cool things about these games is being able to dodge all the bullets, but I've always kind of sucked at it. So here, with being able to slow that down, I just found awesome dodging them all. And, yeah, I'm an awesome pilot.
Felkenőzünk az árokpalára, aktiválom az időszűzőt! Tomián, a picsába! Falkavezér! 20-as ledarálták, vétel!
There's some pretty crazy stuff happening on screen, particularly in some of those nightmarish boss fights. And this is where those special weapon pickups and the time slowing function really come in handy.
Oh, those boss battles were brutal. It's absolutely chaotic. Bullets spray in near impossible to dodge waves and will often spawn bullets that will then spray out their own patterned waves of bullet fireworks. It drove me mad, but if you save those abilities for the right moment and keep catching those red time orbs every time you get hit, you can make it through.
And how good is the look of this game? It's so beautiful, and stage after stage just varies. It's all 3D graphics with a 2D plane, which has been dubbed 2.5D. And it reminded me a lot of Shadow Complex, which was a modern 2D action adventure. And this is definitely a modern side-scrolling shooter.
And it was such a nice touch that between shooting sections, the camera would swing around into 3D mode and give you that spectacular view of the landscape before lining you up for another round of bullet mayhem. Just really artfully done, and so nice to see in an arcade shooter like this.
The gameplay doesn't vary that much, though. For the most part, it's just shooting down planes, avoiding bullets, and taking on boss fights. But those sections where you fly through caverns added to the toughness with narrow passages and mounted turrets.
And I love that short stealth section where you had to shroud yourself in a cloud of debris to avoid being blown to smithereens by the enemy. But there are some tough areas involving underwater mines and others that have lasers that nearly had me rage quitting. I was happy sticking with the normal difficulty on this one.
The story mode you can complete in 1.5 to 2 hours, depending on which difficulty you're on. But if you're not interested in reading or watching all those cutscenes, you can go straight into score, attack, or arcade mode. Both of these modes state they are for experienced players only, and they're right. The only 2 difficulty options here are hard and insane. It's pretty soul-destroying.
Yeah, it's not for the faint at heart, but I think it's a difficulty that's synonymous with the genre, and I think hardcore shooter fans will really relish in that challenge. Though I really liked that in this mode you could choose from a few different abilities, like a shield, the time slowing mechanic, or a complete rewind to turn back time even after you died. Oh, I'm dead. Wait, no I'm not. Oh, I'm still dead.
Well, what are you giving it, Hex?
Well, I thought this was a really classy take on the old shoot 'em up badge, although I have to say that I really didn't get into that story much. But I'm giving it 8 out of 10.
I'm giving it 9. Awesome.
Good game.
I was an engineer as the beginning of my career, and the company that I was working for, there was a coder I was working for, went south, and I was like, I will get into video games somehow. Somebody makes money doing this. I know I pay money for video games. Someone must be paid. And spent 6 months with no job, cold calling and talking to everybody who I knew, and
Me, you too!
pestering all of my friends and my family and my friends' friends.
Chabuda Dune.
Until I ended up interviewing with Maxis for an engineering position, and pestering them and showing up and being like, you could hire me. Until one of the producers came out, the senior producer on Sims 1 came out and said, you're really persistent. Have you ever thought of being in production? And I'm like, I don't know, what's that? Tell me about this production thing. And I was pushy enough that he hired me, and I've been a pushy producer ever since then.
Good game.
It's time again for Gratis Gaming, where we discover some good free-to-play games to satisfy your stingy needs.
The point-and-click adventure was huge in the early 90s, but then it died a bit of a death in the noughties, didn't it, Hex?
Sadly, yes, but it has come back into fashion a little bit with the work that Telltale has done in their episodic adventures. But purists will say that's 3D and not as good as the old 2D pixel hunting kind.
Well, that may be back now too, now that Tim Schafer of Double Fine fame has crowdsourced over $3 million to make an old-school adventure with Ron Gilbert.
Well, it's only fitting then that we should choose one for our gratis pick, and it's no obscure title. It's Beneath a Steel Sky from 1994. It was officially made freeware in 2003 by Revolution Software.
Yes, and it was designed by Charles Cecil, who went on to make all those great Broken Sword adventure games, and it's set in a futuristic Oz.
Yes, it's Australia gone Blade Runner. You play as Foster, a man brought up by Indigenous Australians in the desert after being stranded there in a helicopter crash as a child. As an adult, you find yourself hunted down and returned to the dystopian Union City, which is Sydney, along with your robot sidekick Joey, and quickly get caught up in a good old conspiracy.
Listen, we're in deep trouble.
That whole comic book intro is great, isn't it? But I gotta say, that voice acting is a bit wobbly after all these years.
Those accents are all over the shop.
Whoever is in charge here, come forward. Now.
The old Aboriginal guy speaks with this really posh British accent.
Yeah, it's like he's a wizard.
Far from the light of day, I see it growing safe beneath a sky of steel.
But it doesn't matter how old a game is, if the story is well written and well told, it can be as captivating as ever.
All I could do was wait, just like on a hunt. Just like the old man taught me. Wait and be ready.
Totally, and I think it's the nature of these point-and-click adventure games that you very quickly find yourself completely absorbed in the world. Seeing what you can interact with,
That's really put a wrench in the works.
digging deeper into the story by exploring dialogue trees,
What do you know about the Council?
and enjoying the spirit of adventure.
Link, we can't let him escape.
What the hell is going on?
And Badge, it's the humour too, isn't it? I mean, these old point-and-clicks were seriously witty, and this is no exception.
Stay away from him, Rob. He's a human bomb.
What are you talking about?
He's got a fuse in his mouth.
That's a cigarette.
Yeah, those old LucasArts games really set the tone for these kind of adventure games. They all had to have some sort of humour in them.
What do you think this city is built on?
Rock and roll?
How do you think these puzzles held up after 18 years?
Well, I think they're clever as ever. I mean, it's classic lateral thinking that gets you through, messing about with items from your inventory and stumbling into solutions.
He must have jumped. Fell all the way to ground level.
Phew. Lucky escape.
I got a bit frustrated with these at times. It's so easy to miss what you meant to click on.
These figures mean nothing to me.
That said, I do like the look of this game. Even though we're playing on resolutions that the game was never intended for, it still holds up quite well. And it's fun soaking up all the detail on each screen, which you have to do by trawling your mouse everywhere for something to click on.
Yeah, it still looks great, and the style's become cool again anyway. If you like adventure games and somehow missed this one back in the day, then jump online and get it, because it's fantastic. And of course, it's free.
It does require a bit of patience though, but it'll warm you up for the possible resurgence of point and click on the way.
Well, let's hope.
Yes. Now, a few weeks ago, Dave Callan reviewed Soul Calibur 5 for us. He's a comedian with a beard, and we liked him so much, we've asked him to come back and have another go.
Yes, although nothing could have quite prepared me for what it was that he wanted to review.
In Saturday Night Fever, John Travolta was painter by day, king of the dance floor by night. Well, thanks to Just Dance, I'm stand-up by night, king of the dance floor by day.
In the club, party rock, looking for your girl, she on me. Now stop when we in the spot, booty moving weight like she on the block.
Just Dance is an incredible hit. This is despite having no unlockable weapons, no obligatory sewer level, and no online multiplayer death matches. Then again, maybe it does.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kicks were fast as lightning. Oh yeah.
Also, the first game was bad. Not Landfill in Mexico bad, but still pretty bad. The choreography was terrible, and the graphics were murky and weird. But it did have one thing going for it: an amazing soundtrack. Before this, Dance games required a giant matte peripheral with arrows on them, and you had to stamp about on them. Apparently this was fun, sort of, for some people, although I didn't quite get it myself. Just Dance inexplicably reads your body movements through their Wiimote and grades you out of 5 stars. And it actually works. I've tried waggling my Wiimote lying on the couch with my face in a bag of chips and scored badly. The series has come a long way since the first. It seems that when Ubisoft realized what a money spinner this series was, they really cranked up the funds and the effort, and it shows, and I really like the gameplay. Notice I said like, not am good at.
I wanna make it bad boy, and I'ma make you swallow your pride. Oh, want you to make me feel like I'm the only girl in the world, like I'm the only one that you'll ever love.
Just Dance is a heap of fun with friends, but make no mistake, this is a fitness game. I lost 5 kilos when Just Dance 2 came out, and this best of is a surefire calorie burner and a lot more fun than those other Wii and Kinect fitness games. And motivation is not a problem because of the one more go factor. The tracks have a sweat rating out of 3 to show you just how much of a workout each one is. Not all the tracks are originals. There's pretend versions where they get studio musicians to sing the tracks, like MC Hammer. What did Hammer have on that was so important that he couldn't sign the release forms for this? Maybe he couldn't touch it.
You can't touch this.
The way Hammer's career is going, I thought he would have been doing the motion capture as well, as opposed to Elton John.
Yeah, that's how we living, and you know you can't touch this.
There are also special dances for people with beards. The criticisms I have are there is only one solitary difficulty setting, and the game can't really be bothered teaching you the dances. It just gives you a diagram on how to hold the controller, and you're on your own. It's quite zen learning a dance on your own, but the competitor, Dance Central, has 3 difficulty settings and goes to great lengths to break the dance down for you. However, the Just Dance track listing is a lot more diverse than Dance Central, which is more street and hip-hop heavy. Just Dance features a dazzling array of dance styles spanning the last century, like the Charleston, rumba, disco, Bollywood, rollerblading, the robot,
touch me till I can get my satisfaction,
and goalkeeping. Goalkeeping? The backgrounds had some thought put into them, like Jai-Ho has a street scene inspired by the movie Slumdog Millionaire. Benny Benassi channels Tron. And Kung Fu fighting has an 8-bit background, and the choreography incorporates Hadoukens. The big question is, will this game teach me to dance? Yes, as long as your idea of dancing is this. My biggest grumble about this best of compilation is it only contains tracks from the first 2 Just Dance titles. There's been 3. Also, nothing here from the Japanese release, which had J-pop songs. Nothing here also from the Michael Jackson experience or the ABBA experience, which I definitely did not buy and certainly do not own.
Knowing me, knowing you, there is nothing we can do. Knowing me, knowing you, we just have to face it this time.
But most tragically, the improvements to the franchise made by Just Dance 3 are gone, most notably the 4-player, choreography, and unlockables. Surely the latest game in the series has to be the best. That's how time works. Also, there is no Justin Bieber. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. The culmination of these tragedies is that one of the most fun tracks from Just Dance 3 has not made it to this compilation. However, since some friends of mine and I have been rehearsing a bit, we thought we'd do some for you.
Every day I'm shuffling.
Step
thought this. We get money, don't be mad, now stop. Hating is bad. One more shot for us. Another round. Please fill up a cup. Don't mess around. Just want to see you shake it up. Now you home with me.
I'm conflicted about this one because Just Dance is an incredible series, but this one just isn't very good fan service. If you're new to Just Dance, I would get Just Dance 2. It's the best one. I'm gonna give this one 7 rubber chickens.
Good game.
If there's one thing us gamers like to do, it's get in a mech and blow the crap out of each other. Armored Core 5 is a terrible game to play on your own. If you don't have friends to play this with, you're going to have a very bad time. It also takes a lot of commitment. You can't just jump in and start meching. You need to do some research and understand how everything works. But there are some fantastic ideas here that might just make it worth your while.
The concept is simple enough. Build a mech, fight enemies to get cash, build a better mech. There's a huge amount of depth in knowing how to go about this effectively.
Let's start by talking about the story. I have no idea what this game is about. I don't know what was going on at any stage. I'm fighting some guys, there's some other guys, there's a train going around. It's all told with text and the old little cutscene.
Well, good luck then. I hope you like your present. Goodbye.
But the voice acting is so bad. In fact, 2 of the characters sound exactly the same, and I thought in the first mission, this person was just having a conversation with themselves.
I'm coming with you. We're running out of time. Come on. Are you okay, Rosary? We'll be leaving the residential sector soon. No problems yet. But you're coming with us, right? The old me would have laughed at the idea, but I guess I've changed. Maybe money isn't everything. Oh well, I was ready for a change anyway.
Yeah, but to be fair, this isn't really the kind of game that you really play for the story. I mean, this is about building and shooting things with your friends.
Main system. Activating combat mode.
The campaign is filled with many very short missions. Some of them are only a minute long.
Mission objective complete.
Story ones are slightly longer and they'll see you working through basic checkpoints and fighting a variety of enemies. It's mostly very basic mission design, but there are some fun and stressful fights. The levels feel empty and don't look that great despite a strong futuristic concept behind them.
I found that heads-up display really visually intrusive too. It's got the ammo on the outside of the reticule, which is a bit strange, and also just trying to see an enemy's health can be quite difficult. The levels also feel really boxy. They're quite open, but you still feel like you're trapped in a small world.
I mean, it's almost as if the depth of field is just off a bit.
Yeah, you should be able to have a sense of freedom, you know, and flying about in this giant mech and going all over the place, but I just felt so restricted the whole time.
The ceilings are quite low too, I thought. You get to the top of a building, you often have to get straight back down again, or you'll be out of the combat zone. The game also doesn't teach you well enough about basic things like how you can repair, rearm, and reload at workshops around the place.
Also, to add a good amount of stress to your actions, everything you do costs money, whether repairing or buying ammo, and this means things can go pear-shaped pretty quickly, and you can come out of a match with a negative balance, especially if you take a human player in, because you have to split the winnings with them. But then this is from the developer that brought us Dark Souls and Demon Souls, so they're very good at giving you something punishing but then rewarding you when you get better at it.
Yeah, this is a developer that also doesn't know how to build a menu. I mean, come on, they're a nightmare. And even when you do finally get the hang of them, you'll be thrown out of that workshop all the time by accident.
Why? Why do they build such horrible menus? There's so much great inspiration out there, there's no reason for it. It's just a massive troll.
Building your mech and seeing it in action is a joy though. There's so many parts to play with and you'll need to balance 3 types of damage: thermal, chemical, and kinetic. You'll need to have a range of weapons to cover your bases when fighting enemies though, because some enemies will only have a weakness to one of the damage types, so your other weapons won't be much use at all.
And that construction of your mech is the meat of this game, isn't it? Because it's all about that balance and getting the right amount of weight and different types of weapons and your speed and your boost recharge and just putting all that together to suit your play style. And it takes a long time to get your head around and afford, and I think you'd just be lost in that for days.
Managing your ammo and your movement energy on the battlefield is really important too.
PC severely damaged. Take evasive energy depleted.
You don't want to run out of energy and be stuck in the water when a flurry of missiles are coming towards you. I found controlling my mech just a little bit awkward, Barjo. I mean, there's 3 weapons fire buttons, so combat is frantic, and there are just some rough edges, like climbing buildings. If you're not dead on while you're moving up, then you can randomly dash to the side, which is infuriating.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time. There are some interesting ideas for online play, though. You can hire yourself out as a merc to help others, and they can help you as well. Some of the more interesting online modes like Conquest we couldn't actually test out just because we didn't have enough team points and there aren't enough people playing this game, but we did have a few goes of the Versus mode. This is where the game really shines, and there are some incredible players out there. In fact, in one game, we all ganged up on this one player, so we'll take him down first, and then we can all, attack each other, and he just smashed us all in about a minute. Hex, I want to get to the nitty-gritty of this game and learn everything about it, but I'm not sure that I can commit.
But do you think this will be like a cult slow burn that'll get more popular over time, like Demon Souls?
I want it to, I really do, but I don't think it will. I don't think the game looks good enough, and that will be a big barrier for people, so there just won't be enough people playing it at any given time to get the most out of it.
To me, it just felt like half a game. It's like they built a really great mech construction simulator with fantastic ideas and online and combat, but I don't know, everything else just felt really undercooked.
Yeah, and it's a real shame because I can see competitive potential with that operator mode where one person is the commander of the battlefield and spots for their teammates, and with a full team that would just be awesome, but I don't know, maybe it will take off. There's something magical and nostalgic about mech games.
So what are you giving it?
I'm gonna give it 6 out of 10.
It's 5 out of 10 from me.
So did you guess the game for this week? It was Ninja Blade by From Software, the studio behind this week's Armored Core 5. This PC and Xbox action game was like a blend of Ninja Gaiden and God of War mixed with a giant QuickTime event.
Average sandwich game, but it looked nice.
Yeah, at least it had style.
Next week, a very special episode of Good Game as we celebrate the wonder, the nostalgia, and the magic of the video game arcade.
That's right. From Pong to Time Crisis, we have a look at the long-lasting effect arcades have had on gaming. Plus, check out a couple of new machines for ourselves.
Oh, I can't wait to get down there and pump some credits into those cabinets.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. And don't forget, over on ABC3 this weekend, Spawn Point is our show for gamers of all ages.
Till next time, gamers, Hex out.
Barjo out.
What's your favourite arcade machine ever?
That one. Ninja Turtles.
You want to go?
Yeah. I'm Raphael. Thanks, Raphael. Thanks, Raphael. Oh, it's screwed up.
Good game.